Welcome, Ramanand. Welcome to this Smart Levers episode.
Thanks, Harish.
So, today we're going to talk about something from the world of politics, right? It's called the Eisenhower method. So, what is this all about?
Yeah, so politicians are busy people, as are generals in the army. And so there's a lot that we can learn from how they manage their time. So the Eisenhower model of the Eisenhower Matrix is attributed to General Dwight D. Eisenhower, also became president of the US post World War II. And the idea is fairly simple. Imagine four boxes along two dimensions. One dimension is of urgency and the other dimension is of importance, however you define urgency and importance. Now so naturally you get four boxes. So let's go box by box and understand what is it that Eisenhower or whoever came up with this model recommends that we do when we are trying to make a decision of how to spend our time. I have a bunch of tasks in front of me. Should I work on this now? Should I work on it later? Or should I not work on it at all? So the first box that we'll look at is something called urgent and important. So it's clearly something that is pressing and it is very significant. An example could be you have an year-end appraisal coming up. It's extremely important for the organization to do performance management very well. And it's urgent because the company has to release its bonuses immediately after that. So you do it, you do not dilly-dally, you spend time, you get it done. And that's an example of urgent and important. On the other end of the spectrum, you have tasks which are neither urgent nor important. So this could be a joke that someone posted on your company Slack channel. You kind of are tempted to read it and everyone seems to be having a good time, but you remember that appraisal that you need to do right now. So it's fine if you do not do this activity, just leave it alone and it will, no one will suffer as a result of it. But now come the interesting interplays. One is urgency, but not very important for you to do, and especially for you to do right now, even though it is urgent. A simple example is like paying a bill. Uh, so what can you do? So the Eisenhower matrix suggests that why don't you delegate it to someone, or in the age of automation, it could be something as well. So let's say you have to pay a bill, an electricity bill, and so you could get someone else to go and give it for home. Hopefully it is an important enough thing to do, or you can even invest in technology and you can automate it away and set up a recurring payment scheme. So that just takes it off your hands but meets the deadline. Now the final box, by now everyone would have guessed what it is, which is important but not urgent. And so a good example of this could be, let's say you're a leader and you're an expert at a skill. It could be a skill like storytelling, something that we discussed in an earlier episode. And this is something that your team would really benefit from. But it's not urgent. There's no deadline right now to it. It is one of those things with an infinite horizon. I could do it tomorrow. I could do it next year. It's never going to be an urgent item, but it is important. It is really important that they become, say, better storytellers so that they can uplevel themselves, or they can also help you tell the story of your team better. So the Eisenhower matrix actually suggests that you schedule a time for it. You put it in your calendar. Where though I think we sort of deviate a little bit from that because we have spent a lot of time in the urgent and or rather the important but not urgent category. Uh, we spoke earlier about systems versus goals. One big candidate for systemic thinking or systems design is in this important but not urgent category. So I would say that instead of just scheduling, can you turn it into a habit that becomes a recurring set of activities, a system, and not really a goal?
Right. So, can you give me an example of how we have done this, Ramanan, of moving of doing things which are important but not urgent, and how can we do that as a habit and as a system rather than just doing it in spurts?
Yeah. So I'll give you two examples. One is internal to our team and one is external. So, we pride ourselves on trying to help others think about their future relevance. But what about our own future relevance? That is something that, is important for us, but it may never be urgent. It may not be that tomorrow someone is going to come and collect our plan for future relevance. So a best way to think about future relevance, there are many. There are things like improving your curiosity diet so that you're aware of trends, you're aware of timeless models that we've turned into this series on smart levers. But we also want to be asking ourselves questions like, what new habits do we want to pursue? What if so and so trend comes in the future? How are we going to respond to that? What happens if the electricity in and around us goes down, as happened to you recently? So these are all questions that they're never going to be urgent questions. And once they are in urgent but important, then you know you've lost the future relevance game. So we started something called as the Future Ring series, wherein each week we pose a question that we take turns to answer, and it's there on our task management system. It is assigned a person, it has a small deadline associated with it. So we've actually turned it into a system where we have a right dose of urgency introduced, and this is very important for us to be done. And now we've almost reached 100 weeks of doing this. So that's an example of something which is important for us to do, was not urgent, but we turned it into a system. And our internal reading compound is also another example of it. Now, in external terms, something like building a habit of curiosity, something like connecting with your teams, which has become so important in this age of distributed work. These are again not so urgent, because when you have a customer escalation or you have your planned roadmap to build, these things can sort of get forgotten. And earlier they happened by accident because people were all rubbing shoulders physically. But now you need to take a more deliberate approach, a more orchestrated approach. So what we've now done is to help a lot of our clients using our offerings like Connections Cafe or drip courses. They essentially turn the important and not urgent in something very actionable. So you have a schedule, you have right channels. I think, and more importantly, it becomes our duty to help our leaders and our the people that we are working with to remember to dwell on some of these topics, and make it important for them in that moment to think about.
Right. I mean, especially in these days of remote work, I've also, heard these complaints from leaders that, in meetings have become very transactional, right? Which is basically the important and urgent, right? Yeah, this has to go out, this, email has to go out. So, yeah, people will talk about that. But the important part is those interactions, give time for serendipity, which will eventually, lead to some innovation, some idea that will keep them relevant in the future, and that is what is getting
Absolutely.
missed out, right?
Yeah, and if you, the Eisenhower matrix is a good audit for to do for yourselves. If you look back at your last month, your last year, and you see that most of the things that you do were either chasing urgency of one kind of another, whether it be important or not important, you will notice that you just don't have the time to breathe and think, and thinking needs time, which you cannot rush. And so this you want to spend most of your time, especially as a leader who making high stakes decisions. You want to spend most of your time in that important but not urgent category, so that you are giving it ample time, you're giving it the due diligence that you deserve to give it.
Right. On you also answered, what would have been my next question, Ramanan, that who will benefit from knowing this?
Right.
Leaders, definitely yes. But besides leaders, I think this is something which individuals should also be thinking of with respect to their own schedules and
Absolutely.
work,
So,
right?
like they say, we are all managers these days. We're all leaders that day, and we have been talking about the rise of the empowered individual, the empowered employee. So, ultimately, you are responsible for your schedule as a knowledge worker, as an upleveler. And so, as a productivity tool, as a reflection tool, as a tool to help others plan better, I think the Eisenhower matrix has a lot to offer. But like we said, don't just schedule the important but not urgent, but also turn it into action.
Right. So basically, use all the other smart levers that we have talked about. Bring out the right combination to make things happen, and then don't just go with one of these levers, right?
That's right.
Yeah. On that note, Ramanan, thanks a lot for this. Listening to this, watching this video was important. It may not have been urgent, but you did this, so well done to the viewer as well.